Hi everyone, my name is Debbie Manville and I run the 1 Million Diamonds Art Instagram. Today I'm talking with Jenna Krypell. Hi Jenna.
Hey.
Today we're going to be talking to her about her amazing sculptures and how she started making them. I was wondering, did you go to school? Where did all this start for you?
Um, I've been into making art, bringing my passions through art and creating since I was a little girl. I remember like my great grandma and my dad also was always pushing, like, express yourself through creativity, this and that. And I think they saw that at a young age. And as I grew up, as like any young kid, you know, you're you're not instantly gonna know like what all these thoughts are going on in your head. But I had a great support system, mentioning my grandma and my dad, and it kind of led me to understanding that I wanted to take this into what I do with my life and what I do with my job. So I did go to school for art. I went to Syracuse University,
Okay.
studied at the Visual and Performing Arts School, and uh, within that school, I think that was where I really became confident that I wanted to take this into my life practice.
Okay, cool. So when you got into school, what were you working on? Were you working on just paintings? Were you doing sculpture? What were you working on?
So when I got into school, like any art program, they kind of tell you you need to do like a full kind of exploration of all different things. And since this was like an umbrella school of kind of design and fine art,
Mm.
I got to experience just working with all different mediums and also dabbling into also like the design aspect of life,
Okay.
also working for different clients. And you could take it either way. So what's interesting about my studies is for 2 years I studied mostly like communication design and like communication design and industrial design and stuff like that, which really shaped me as an artist today. I definitely had a lot of frustrations through that because, you know, that career is heavily based on usually working for a client and making aesthetically pleasing products to push sort of like a big brand's agenda.
Hmm.
So that aspect I really didn't like of it, but they also pushed you to learn all of these like new technologies that weren't coming out at the time, but were very relevant within the studies that I was doing, like learning Photoshop and Illustrator and learning all of these different processes like laser cutting and digital processes and CNC routing. And at the time, I didn't know where that was going to bring me. I kind of just learned all those things and was able to use those technologies to bring forward different ideas that I had in my mind. And, even though I would say those 2 years of studying like communication design, I think I got more negative feedback than I did positive feedback. And that wasn't because what I was putting forward wasn't really well done. And I mean, there was definitely like a passion inside me, but I just kept getting negative critiques because they're like, this is a very far-fetched idea, it's very abstract, it's hard for the common person to like absorb, because if you're
Hmm.
working commercially, sometimes you have to really appeal to like the mass majority of minds, you know?
With commercial, yeah.
Yeah, with commercial. So, you know, in that time of my life, that was like a growing experience for me. I really remember being like, I don't want to get rid of creativity completely, but I really don't like this commercial aspect of it. But I was
Hmm.
also a little afraid of like going completely into a fine art study, you know? So I think what scared me was like the unknown of that. So, but I also knew I could do it.
Well, you really did turn it around for a person that was scared, unlike
Oh,
most people that don't seem to. And
well,
as far as negative critiques go, I think we've all gotten our share in school with the art critiques. I remember my own really well.
yeah, I
Um,
think those are great for shaping the person you are. You know, even out of school, like I didn't know how to kind of take where I was going. So I'd apply to being like the person that sits behind the desk at the museum, you know, or like this or that. I had some interviews with like big museum people, and I'd go in so nervous, and I am not so put together, you know, like with like I think you need to like show being very put together and organized and all this stuff, and I never had those characteristics, and I never got any of those jobs. And for a while I was just like, oh my god, like this sucks, what am I going to do, you know? And that kind of gave me a lot of time to focus on, you know, stop worrying about what other people don't want from you, you know, do what you really want to do and make time for it. And you know, all those things, looking back, I'm grateful that I didn't get that opportunity that would have had me spend hours in like a white gallery sitting there answering to people again.
yeah, and not being able to work on your craft. So
Yeah.
you told me that you have some early shots and images that you wanted to share with us.
Oh yeah, for sure. So should I share the screen?
Please do.
Okay, so finally, when I said F it to communication design, I actually went to sculpture and painting as my main study.
Awesome.
And I went to Florence, where I studied abroad for 4 months. And, you know, I'm a painter at heart, even though my art comes off very sculptural.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to show you like the background of the things that really made me confident in what I was seeing in my mind compared to translating it into reality, which I think
Okay.
is a huge thing for people, because you can have all these ideas and dreams, but they sometimes get lost if you don't put it into some sort of reality, even if that reality is shitty the first time around, you know? And for sure, like, so this is certain things that I would make while I was in communication design, but just for my own, you
Okay.
know? This didn't have to do with any of my studies. It was just, you know, I was working so much on Illustrator and Photoshop that I just needed to make things for myself. And, you know, it was a little bit surrealism, like very clean lines, obviously very digital. This wasn't actually like a painting. It was just all on the computer.
Okay.
Hold on. So this is another thing, you know, you can see like,
I can see the commercial aspect of it for fracking. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And then I left that, and you know, I went to sculpture, and I still was taking that process of using like digital design. And then this was like one of my first like actual sculptures that I made.
Okay. That's great.
Um, and you know, each of these are studies. So I think in this time of my life, I was kind of just doing many different things. Um,
And about how long ago was this for you?
this was, let's see, 2015.
So this is only a few years ago.
Well, I got out of school 4 years ago.
Okay.
So these are some oil paintings that I did in college. It was like a little mini study of like animal paintings. You know, you see them everywhere now, but I I had this idea in my mind when I was studying in Italy, and I just wanted to like show different attitudes by putting like these stereotypical animal faces onto bodies. And you know, I did like 4 of them, and at the end of that I was like, I'm bored and I'm done. I love these paintings, you know, I there's a special place in my heart for them,
I
But
get like that too. Yeah, I know.
there was like a tunnel, like there was, I remember I started a new painting and it was like of these elephants. I don't know. And I actually stopped painting it. I was like, I think I got what I needed out of this study and I don't want to bastardize it like until it's dead, you know?
So where'd you go after that?
So this is one of the first pieces I made with this new like idea in my mind. And it was a present for a very dear friend of mine that we're still very close. And, you know, we had this relationship where like I felt when we're together, we're like perfectly together, but we're also cool to be individuals, you
Okay.
know? And that kind of was how I viewed a lot of my relationships, friendships, relationships, kind of like, you know, you can be as one, but you always should keep a part of yourself
Separate.
intact. Yeah.
Right.
And this was made for one of my friends who also was very inspirational when it came to like learning all these technologies like CNC routing. And I mean, he was like my mentor when it came to like physically creating. And
Hmm.
sometimes when you start physically creating something, the technical aspect can be daunting, and that
Yeah.
can actually stop you from doing what's in your mind because there's a lot of things to physically figure out, you know, like the technical aspects. So this was my first product. It was actually like made out of styrofoam, and I never poured resin before. That's oil painted, and then I poured the resin. It took 24 hours to cure. It never fully cured because I didn't do it perfectly. And it also worked in a way. And the person I'm giving this to for their birthday, like, is an, like, he can make anything, like beautiful wood tables, like joinery, like crazy things. So I was like so nervous to give it to him because I knew there was a lot of mistakes in that, you know, technically he'd probably rip it apart and say it's like, I
If they're
mean,
if they're your friend, they'll generally understand and just appreciate the gift. But
yes, he did, but at the same time, for my, as being such a good friend and knowing where I want to go with
yeah,
this,
he
he's
helped you.
gonna rip me apart, which I appreciate. Because, you know, now looking forward, you see that this compared to the work I'm doing now, it is like night and day, technically speaking. Like it's
There's
seamless.
definitely the early renderings of what you're doing now, though.
Oh, for sure.
What other
But
ones do you have?
let's see. So these are things that I cut with just like a saw, and everything. All my early work in this study was made of styrofoam because
Okay,
it's a very easy thing to experiment with.
true.
And then you can see this, that I had no idea even the form that it would take on. I just drew a grid and started drawing all of these like pathways and cut it out. And there's so many different ways to put it together.
Yeah.
This is when I started actually using a CNC router with my work,
Okay.
and I was able to get this kind of, this is still out of foam though.
You're still getting a real nice shape with it, though.
Yeah. Um, this is a project when I got out of school. It was a project on Long Island called First City Project. And it was just this art house that kind of had so many artists just like bombing it and doing a lot of different things. And
Hmm.
I was just this like girl coming out of college, having no idea about like what this was, what opportunity this was. There was some really awesome people doing work there, and I got to meet them. And, you know, I think this project out of school was something that gave me the confidence to understand how many different like pathways you can take your art,
Sure.
and like how many opportunities there really are to like do what you love.
Hmm.
um and then, you know, you see it just getting more refined. And, you know, I stopped at this just because that's all I gathered.
We
But
could, yeah, we could go into your website. That would be fine.
yeah, let's do that.
There we go.
We can go, so this is like a big roster of all of my work.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah, just click through. Yeah, click through. I'm sorry.
okay.
Start at the first one. I mean, that's gorgeous. I saw that you've done some work with mirrors too. That's really cool. Is it?
Yeah,
This isn't. Is this mirrors or no? It is.
this is mirrors. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything you're seeing is a reflection of me and then my studio in the background.
Okay.
Um, this is something that is fairly new. It's like maybe a year old of me experimenting with reflection and how that kind of gives a whole new outlook to my sculptures and my work.
Okay.
Let me see if I can, let me, yeah, so, even starting from the first piece I ever made, you can see like that was the seed into
Okay.
planting this evolution of now years of studying something that I believe I'll study my whole life, but maybe in, let's say, 10 years from now, you'll really see it kind of moving and changing, but you'll always see like where it came from, you know?
I
And
love this.
I'm very interested in that because I think everyone likes to document their life and their evolution, You see people taking pictures of like a family from being young to 20 years later, and like so many different things change and evolve, but you still see like the essence,
Definitely
And
see it. Yeah.
when that comes to my work, I really try, because I really believe in what I'm doing and the things I'm exploring. And it's hard to put into words, but I like to trust the flow that it takes on. And each piece that I create kind of is the catalyst to the next one. Like without that step, I wouldn't get to the other step. And, you know, I make pieces that necessarily might be like the same form, but then I put this imagery on it or this texture on it, which is mirror, or just like more colors and uh, heavily related on lines. And that can translate an entire perception of that same piece. So like this one, Lily, and then let's say this one that's called Nightfall. It's the same form, but it's a different, a completely different feel just based on colors, imagery, like just how a mind will look at it and see in a different way completely, just because of a different texture or color or material that's laid on top of it. And that's something that I enjoyed doing because, a lot of these works will touch an individually differently. And I get so many people being like, oh, this reminds me of that, or this reminds me of this. Or it can be the same piece and someone's reminded of something and someone thinks of it totally different.
Yeah. Everyone has a different perspective.
And I think that's interesting because, going back to like my animal paintings, it was literal and a lot of people had the same meaning to them as like the next person. But for this, just like anything in life, you're going to interpret it based on that your own individual like path,
The beauty of symbolism and
Exactly.
yeah, non-objective art.
Exactly. So that always fascinates me because it's more of a conversation with me and my audience
Mhm.
or whoever's looking at my work, because it surprises me. It doesn't bore me. And that's something I think I needed to understand was very important in my practice and my work. I even dabbled with how light will affect it and how it'll give more dimension and, you know,
Gives it a different kind of feeling. I mean, I love all your work. It's all really, really great, and it's very good that you did go down this path, and how everything did shape the way it did.
thank you.
Let me ask you, do you have your own CNC or do you go to a place?
So I'm part of a fabrication lab in Long Island that you can go and you work and you can use the machinery there.
That's great.
It's a lot of maintenance, and hopefully one day I'll have one. But right now it seems like let me focus on
The
making my work
design.
and not
Yeah.
maintaining a machine.
I love this green one with the black. That's cool.
Which one?
The green and black one.
Oh, this one.
Mm-hmm. That's something else.
So I've done some cool murals that are fun,
That's
but
awesome. Yeah, let's take a
it's,
look.
it's something that I like to do because like that's what I kind of came into doing right after college
Okay.
with that first city project, and I was like in awe with like all the people able to make. I love scale, so people just painting on huge walls and you know.
Do you have
So
a company that sends you work, or do you
um,
go for individual jobs?
it's kind of like through friends, through things that are opportunities, and
Okay. I love to see the evolution of your work.
I
It's
don't
really
seek.
cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a timeline in itself, you know.
For sure. Part of it. Let me ask you this. Um, what do you have any vision for the future that you're thinking of? Do you have any new ideas of what you want to do? Um, is there something that sticks out to you, like in terms of like, do you feel like you're going to get out of sculpture? You're going to stay with it? You're still working with it? Like, where's the direction going?
I'm definitely going to still work with sculpture and the medium that I'm working with.
Okay.
As for the evolution of my work and where it's going, I have a very distinct process where there's no, you know, when I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. But, and I have so many ideas in my mind, but I'm not going to force it if I'm not ready.
True.
So each day I'm working at something, but it's hard to describe what. If I have to say what I want to do, I mean, this is typical. Everyone always wants to go bigger or more public, you know? And in regards to my work, I would love to do things that are outside or things that are huge and people can see and be easily inspired by it. But with the work itself, just like you can't predict the future, you know, I know that if I keep working at it every day, it will inevitably evolve into something different. And I can't describe that right now.
No, totally. You couldn't.
Talk to me in 10 years and I can tell you.
It's good that you're working every day. It's good that you're practicing as much as you do. It's funny how through art, just a daily practice, as you were saying earlier, with people afraid to experiment or even get into bringing the dreams into the 3D, into the reality. Um, if you just leave it in your mind, it doesn't go anywhere. But if you keep working with it, it tends to go further.
100%. And that's something I really believe in because you can plan and plan and plan all you want in your mind and for the future. But if you're not doing it every day, you know, every day you're losing
True.
something because you can make something so shitty, but you're going to learn 100 times more than waiting for that thing in your mind to be perfect.
That's right. All right. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate it. I think that, all these interviews help with artists that need the direction, the push, the motivation. And I think because not only because you know, you have such a distinct style right out of school too, and you really are on a roll. I mean, I know a lot of artists. I see a lot of artists, and I really think that you're doing amazing work with everything that you have. And I super appreciate you talking to us today.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that.